time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does, and so great to have you with us on this Thursday edition of the show, the penultimate show of the week. We got a lot to do over the next 60 minutes, and glad to have you with us to do it. Jordan Schultz slated to be on the show with us, formerly of, well, everywhere. He's been an NFL insider for almost everybody. Still doing that, but also has a couple of podcasts. The Schultz Report, also with Why is Draymond Green Talking About Football? Yes, that is the name of the podcast. That is coming up a little later on in the show. We'll have a Thursday night NFL preview as well. But we start things out, guess what? In baseball, because our guy is here, because it's a Thursday. It's David Aardsma Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, on the show. As we go through this baseball postseason. And David, let's start with what took place on Wednesday night, and that is the Blue Jays getting up off the mat, down 2-0 in Seattle, looking like all doom and gloom, and then they score 12 unanswered en route to a 13-4 win. Help it make sense, please.
Just sometimes you just get that perfect swing, and Andres Jimenez got it just right, and then just starts rolling. I love it. I like that the Jays are getting back into this, and it actually feels right that they're doing it with the long ball, right? They're doing it the way they've always scored runs basically all year, with the long ball, with power. Vladdy almost having a complete cycle in the playoffs is crazy. He could have maybe even gone
should have gotten it, yeah.
You gotta go for it. Just get thrown out. I understand that don't be selfish and all that stuff. The team would love it. Every single guy on that bench would be cheering for you and would love you more if you didn't stop at second base and be a good team player. Go for it. Go be the guy. But again, we still have to talk about the Mariners coming out, J-Rod hitting that home run. J-Rod has been, so overlooked this season with what Kyle Raleigh has done, that you kind of miss the second half of the year and how much he might have actually been the MVP of that team in the second half, because what he was able to do with the bat, with his glove out in the outfield, everything, and he was able to actually have put up incredible numbers under the radar. So he's been able to continue that into this playoffs, into this series, and he is the key, I think, to this team. Like the way he keeps swinging the bat like that, and then if you get Polanco behind him, Raleigh in front of him, and they just keep putting those numbers up. But the Blue Jays had a great game. The Blue Jays had a great game, and then really what it is you put on George Kirby, and just did not look right. The rest of the bullpen just came in, then just like, we're riding this thing home. I still have the Blue Jays just behind a step on the Mariners.
So that's the thing I wanted to ask you about, though, David, because now, obviously, the questions are going to start to set in for the Mariners. And you look at it, they've played more games in this postseason than any other team that's currently alive. When do you think that starts to set in? Or do you think that affects them at all down the stretch, having played more games than all of their opponents from here on out?
Right. The only place it would really affect you is in the bullpen. The rotation's not going to get affected as long as they're on a good rotation. They're moving those guys in and out. The lineup, you want to keep playing games. You want as many games for batting as you could possibly have, because if you're hot, you're going to be just fine. If you're cold, obviously, you're not going to be playing too many games. But it's the bullpen. But they've been able to, because of some of these outings, and because the outing even yesterday, even when you go out there and you lose a game and you're just getting your butt handed to you 13-4, and you don't have to throw any of your guys. You don't have to throw any of your dudes. That's the beautiful part of it. Like, okay, George Kirby goes out, still gives you 4, right? Still get, in the playoffs, giving up 8 runs in 4 innings. People are like, wow. That usually that's a 2-inning outing type of thing. Right. And so you still get that 4 innings. And so I still look at this and say, man, they used, the same amount of pitching as the Blue Jays did in a win. And that's where you start winning on those battles.
Can I ask you, Max Scherzer hasn't started a game since September 24th. Give me some perspective. What the hell's he been doing since September 24th to be ready for this moment? I know he's Max Scherzer. I know he's a future Hall of Famer. I know he knows how to prepare, but give me an idea as to why, as just a general observer, not a fan of either team, why I should be confident that he's going to be able to show up almost a month removed from his last start and be what the Blue Jays need in this game.
The only thing I can tell you is that it is the Hall of Fame Max Scherzer. If there's somebody that can be able to do that and have the mindset and the attitude, be able to prepare, throw bullpens in that same mindset. You've seen him throw bullpens where he's just psychopath in the bullpen, getting ready for an outing several days away. But outside of that, I've got nothing for you. I've got nothing for you.
Congratulations, Blue Jays fans. Congratulations, Blue Jays fans. David Aardsma with the Blue Jays shirt on says he's got nothing for me on why Scherzer's going to pitch well today.
It's the reality of the situation where you're looking at a guy who's been well past his prime, has not had the type of outings that you're wanting to be focusing on games 4 in the playoffs and then ALCS. But this is where we're at. This is where the Blue Jays are at.
This has got like Kevin. This has got Kevin Costner for Love of the Game written all over it.
All over it. Oh, just the right pitch. He better be perfect, and that's the thing, because he's not going to be beating him with his stuff. He better be perfect, and we know the reality of that. He probably isn't going to be, and it's going to be a short outing. It's just a matter of how much damage can he reduce.
Yeah, Sam a quickie.
Well, I just keep thinking about this Max Scherzer thing, and it's like, maybe it's because I have too fond memories of him. But David, I mean, as a professional athlete, it feels like Max Scherzer is one of the most like zone-oriented, not pitching strike zone-oriented, getting in the zone. He is the most zone-oriented starting pitcher, maybe in Major League Baseball, even though he's old and he's been around a long time, experienced. Do you think it's just as easy for him to get back into that killer mentality all these years later, 6 years post winning a World Series, 6 years post starting Game 7 for the Nationals? Is it still just as easy as it was back in the day to get into that mental state? No, and that's what you lose. Those are the things you lose as you become older. It's harder to prepare. It's harder to recover the next day, and it's harder to get locked in the same way, just as easy, right? Because it's so even when you're not as locked in, your stuff is there. So you still have the great stuff to rely on, even when you're not perfectly locked in or just as focused as you've ever been. And now he doesn't have the stuff, and it's hard to prepare, it's hard to recover, and so that's the stuff you lose. And so this is where you're looking at this, is how veteran is he, how great is he at acknowledging a hitting team and being able to move his stuff.
Maybe it's just the whole idea of it being a one-off. That just can you find it for that one night? That kind of greatness for one night. I actually think he's going to pitch well. I'm actually on the side of him pitching well. I think we're going to have a banger between Castillo and Scherzer. We'll get to the Brewers and Dodgers next. Welcome back. Coming up in 10 minutes, Jordan Schultz slated to be with us, talk some NFL, and also about his new podcast. Why in the world is Draymond Green talking about football? Make sure I get that right. We know why this guy's here. He's talking baseball. David Aardsma, former big league reliever, closer, hanging out with us. People are going to think he's like schizophrenic because one week he wears Mariners stuff, the next week he wears Blue Jays stuff, and fans don't know who he's a fan of. Here's the problem, people. He pitched for 700 teams, so he has no allegiance. Well, except to the Mariners, because he was at the Ichiro thing.
Dumb question of the day time.
Oh.
So, David, as Jason just mentioned, you pitched for multiple teams throughout your tenure as a major league baller. I'm curious, when you, for instance, even if it's in the offseason, switch from one team to another, switch from arbitrarily the Blue Jays to the Mariners. It's the offseason. You've just come home from the season. You've got all these trash bags full of Nike dry fit t-shirts and spring training caps of Blue Jays stuff, but you're about to go play for the Mariners 3,000 miles away. What do you do with all that crap?
Give it to friends. And then I fold them up very nicely. Thank you to my wife. And then I put it away and never to look at again. And then when you retire and you get old, then you take a shirt out and a long sleeve out or something of each team. I took one out from every team and said, okay, that's all I'd ever wear. And so I just go through, like, the Jays had a great game, so I threw this on. And if the Dodgers go out and dominate today, I might throw a Dodger thing on tomorrow and just say, yeah, played for almost all.
But you just threw a bunch of it out.
No, I didn't throw any of it out. I kept it. Kept it for later, and then maybe my kids one day will want it.
Aw,
they won't want it.
Genius.
They're not going to
Genius.
Aw, don't say that. They might want it. I feel bad if this were like this feels like a Full House episode where everybody goes, "Aw,
oh,
poor thing."
what a dad!
Somebody give David a hug. Let's talk about the Brewers and Dodgers. I mean, this has just been domination from the Dodgers through the first 2 games, in spite of Dave Roberts' best efforts to lose Game 1. He didn't have to worry about it so much in Game 2 because the offense obviously showed up, and Yamamoto was absolutely fantastic. My problem with the Brewers was their approach in Game 2. They were swinging early in every count. They didn't drive up the pitch count at all. Get into that Dodgers bullpen, which, if not a weakness, it at least forces Dave Roberts to make a decision, and that could be a weakness for the Dodgers. I didn't like their approach in Game 2. They're in a world of trouble going back to L.A. But then again, as we saw with the Blue Jays, who we all thought were in a world of trouble, you win Game 3 and all of a sudden everything feels different. We don't know who's pitching for the Brewers as at the time we put the show together. We know Glasnow is going for the Dodgers. Is this thing a fait accompli at this point, David Aardsma?
Well, here's the best thing the Brewers have going for them is, just like you said, the Dodgers bullpen, it's horrendous. It's a 6 ERA basically in the playoffs. And the Brewers bullpen is a 1.74, and they're probably going to have a bullpen day. That's why they just don't know. They're just trying to figure out matchups. Who's the best matchup? Maybe keep the Dodgers on their toes a little bit. But really, it's just about matchup. You hit it right on the head, though. The Brewers changed from their normal game plan in Game 2. And Yamamoto was dealing, throwing strikes. The ball, you just saw that, how that split was moving into right-handed batters away from lefties, and that fastball was just riding right through the zone. He looked incredible. He looked just dominant. The Brewers were also a different hitting team. They weren't the fight through counts, make him work, fight off balls, and maybe get a guy on base and cause some havoc there, which they were doing Game 1. Who cares if you only score one run, you only give up 1 run, and you got Blake Snell on the mound, but they got to that bullpen and they almost pulled it off too, right? So it's they can't deviate from that game plan. Tyler Glasnow is basically the same as Yamamoto and Snell. He's a stud. He can be on that mound all 9 innings. He probably won't be if they go out and just play their ball game. He's got some of the best stuff in the world. Out of those 3 pitchers, Glasnow has the best stuff. He's the least best pitcher of those 3. And when you look at it and you say, okay, who can I get to earlier? It's definitely Glasnow. And so that's the guy I have to sit there and be patient. Take my strikeouts. It's okay to take a strikeout. You don't have to go up there swinging strike 1. Make him force some pitches, get to that bullpen. And if they get to the bullpen earlier than the 9th inning, the Brewers are going to be okay. The Brewers are going to be just fine because their pitching staff is so good on so many different ways they can pitch that they're going to be in this ball game. And the way Pat Murphy's been handling that bullpen, no one's going to blow up enough to just give up this game. So it's on that Brewers lineup to be able to fight through Glasnow and get him out of the game by the 6th inning.
Sam?
David, I'm curious. We've talked a little bit about the Yamamoto thing, but one of the most interesting parts of his experience, or of the experience of Yamamoto to me, has been the year-over-year change. Obviously, last year during the regular season, there were a lot of questions, and then he came out in the postseason and proved a little bit of it wrong. But this season, he was just a different animal. I mean, during the entirety of the regular season, ERA was what, like a full run lower? And obviously, we've seen what he's done in this postseason so far. What have you noticed year over year about Yoshinobu Yamamoto that changed about his pitching style in general that made him this much more effective in the major leagues?
I've seen some things where they've shown his delivery side by side, and when it looked like he was a little bit more patient this year, allowed him to get his hips turned a little bit more towards home plate. He was a little open, and it felt like he was rushing towards home plate. There's a slight little more pause, which allows him to gather his momentum, gather his hips directly, and then direct them better at home plate. And then also, it's probably a matter of just consistency, being out there, knowing what major league pitching is, knowing what major league hitters are, and how the game is different, getting on a different routine, right? And that second year, being able to actually pitch like a major league pitcher and pitch his games. And you see it too, like Dave Roberts is trusting him more. Dave Roberts, who is the king of the early hook, is now allowing him and trusting him. The fact that he let him go 9 innings And even Snell go 9 innings. First of all, Snell going 9 innings or 8 innings. Like, what is that? And Yamamoto, allowing Yamamoto to go that long, that's showing that confidence in him. And when a team shows that back to you, that gives you even more confidence moving forward. It's just that ball rolling down a hill. And he had a great first year. Like, we gave him a lot of heck early on, or we gave the Dodgers a little bit more heck. We thought it was more like a Sasaki thing. We thought when we were seeing Sasaki, it was going to be Yamamoto all over at the very beginning. But then he got comfortable and he got more in that routine, and you just see it coming out.
Before we let you go in the last 20 seconds here, when we speak to you next Thursday, assuming we're all here next Thursday, which I hope, who's meeting in the World Series?
Dodgers, Mariners. Mariners. Mariners are going to pull this game out against Scherzer. I love Max. Love Max. One on my wall. One of the best. Mariners are going to beat him up pretty good.
David Aardsma, ladies and gentlemen. Always appreciate you, my friend. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of the show, and always great when I can get this guy on. He's a tough get, man. He's busy people. He is busy people. Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, the host of the Schultz Report. And because one show isn't enough, he's got another called Why is Draymond Green Talking About Football with Jordan Schultz? And when I saw that whole announcement about that show coming out, I literally said to myself, WTF.
Why is he doing it?
Yeah, I literally did a WTF. And we'll ask you about that coming up in a few minutes. But I got to get some NFL things out of my system with you. Let me start with Jonathan Gannon and the comments he made. Yeah, and we've already gone through the whole DeMercado and smacking him and all that stuff and everything that's fallen out from that. But I thought his comments yesterday regarding Michael Vick, they were asking him a question about, hey, what is your experience? Like, when's the first time you could remember being in the middle of a spit storm? Use a different word. And the example he immediately flashed back to, and it took everybody by surprise because the whole presser went basically dark after that, was the Michael Vick situation. What does it tell you about sort of his mindset and his psyche that it sort of went there? And is Gannon going to survive in Arizona, given the fact that ownership neutered him and now the team is struggling? Is he going to make it through this?
Two things. I was really taken aback by that comment because the Michael Vick scenario is like going on 2 decades ago. And it was out of left field, completely out of left field, and the DeMercado thing, like that sucked for them. But that's a strictly football incident. To go to Vic was just wild to me. And you're right, the press conference took a dark turn. It really did. It was strange, and I thought it didn't really fit. Like, it didn't sit with me particularly well. He gets fined a significant amount of money, which is extraordinarily rare. But the reason he was fined is because they had it on camera. If he yells at a guy in the locker room and gets in his face, he's not going to get fined. But he gets fined nonetheless. It was a tough scenario for them, and that team, I think, has been way too up and down for me. Just strictly, let me just say, as a football fan, first and foremost, I expected Arizona to be better this season and to be better defensively. They have a lot of good players on that defense, and they have a true leader, a true alpha in Budda Baker. And Gannon is a defensive coach. His forte is defense. That's what he did so well in Philadelphia. That's why he got this job. I do think he will survive, barring an absolute collapse. And Arizona is one of these week-to-week teams where you don't really know what you're going to get. Go to the Indianapolis game where they lose Kyler, and then Brissett comes in and is 9 of 14 on third down and has 330-something yards. But the defense, again, really struggled. They have had a couple injuries, but, man, Jason, out of all these teams, when I thought about the NFC West, I was like, Arizona's going to be – they should be a really tough out this year, and we just haven't seen it.
Yeah, Jordan, obviously this past week we saw Brian Callahan's short tenure in Tennessee come to an end. What do you make of this new era where when an organization has a quarterback who they put a lot of draft stock into, if that quarterback's not agreeing with the head coach, that coach is on such a short leash? How do you interpret that in this modern era of the NFL?
Well, it's like quarterbacks now, like young quarterbacks, if they're expected to come in and compete, Sam. Maybe not win right away, but be competitive, especially high picks. And so Cam Ward comes in, and Brian Callahan, not dissimilar to Gannon, Brian Callahan's an offensive guy. Like, that's his guru. He's supposed to be this wonderkind, play caller, quarterback guy. He brings in his dad, who's arguably the best offensive line coach in the league. And the offense completely sputters. And he's not protected. And again, they've had injuries too. Fine. But Callahan's 4-19 in his career. And I'll tell you something that I haven't really talked a lot about, and I don't think I've seen it reported, but I believe strongly this was a strictly ownership decision. And I think Amy had a lot of family, it was told to me, at the Raider game in Las Vegas. And they got annihilated. They were awful in that game. And the Raiders are not a juggernaut. So they get embarrassed at Allegiant Stadium. She has a lot of family there. And I think obviously this is not just about one game, but that was the nail in the coffin. Had they been competitive in that game and lost, I don't think Brian Callahan's fired. And I don't believe, it wasn't my understanding that he was going to have a short leash this season. I think they had planned to keep him because they had a good relationship with him internally. But at some point, 4-19 is not going to be tolerated from an owner who fired Mike Vrabel, who was and is one of the best coaches in football. And by the way, they host New England this weekend. So, yeah, Tennessee's in a tough spot. I do think, by the way, for what it's worth, I do believe in what they have going there. I think Chad Brinker's a good football guy, and they brought in Mike Borgonzi, who was top lieutenant for Brett Veach for 16 years in Kansas City. And I think he's very good, and I think he's a big-time – he's going to be a great drafter. He's a scouting background, so we'll see.
In the last minute and a half I have in this segment, we're holding you over for one more. Tua apologizing for his comments criticizing the team, the McDaniel job security, the mess that is the Miami Dolphins. Since we're on the theme of coaches, if Callahan was the last to go, is McDaniel the next to go?
No, I don't think McDaniel's in the hot seat right now. I mean, like short term. I'm not saying he's going to last there a long time, but I don't see Mike McDaniel losing his job anytime soon in terms of this season. I think Miami is not in a hurry to make a coaching move, and they've actually been competitive, unlike Tennessee. They've been more competitive in these games, and they haven't found a way to really win any, but they've been in games. But it's my understanding, Jason, that in terms of the Dolphins in this season, they would like to at least give Mike McDaniel more time. I don't think he's going to be there long term, but he's not going to be fired in the next few weeks. That's what you're asking. He's got more time than that.
In the final 20 seconds of this segment, Tua, can you see them moving on from him if they have the right draft position in the offseason?
I think the irony is that Mike McDaniel got Tua paid in many ways, right? And but no, I would be surprised, assuming he stays healthy, doesn't have more concussions. I'd be surprised if his time is short. I think he's got a much longer leash.
Okay. Jordan Schultz is hanging out with us. He is the host of the Schultz Report. He's also the host with Draymond Green on Why is Draymond Green Talking About Football. There's a couple more football items to get to, and I want to know what it's like working with Draymond Green because I know what playing basketball with him is probably like. We'll talk about it next. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday edition of the show. We continue the conversation, keep it moving with Jordan Schultz, NFL insider. You can find him on the Schultz Report. He's got his own YouTube channel. We went and followed each other. We went and subscribed to each other on YouTube. It was cute.
I appreciated that, JP.
It's cute. He's also the host of Why is Draymond Green Talking About Football with Jordan Schultz. We'll ask him about that as well. Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, Jordan, I just wanted to talk to you about trades a little bit. Obviously, there's been a ton of discussion, the NFL moving back the trade deadline, especially to this year, but they have a few times over the course of the last couple of decades. How has that changed the ecosystem around NFL trades? And what are you hearing leading up to this trade deadline? What position groups could be targeted by certain teams?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, up until then, it was on Halloween Day, but you had a week less. Now you have a week more, which is a lot of teams, I think, almost unanimously really like and prefer having more time for a couple reasons. One is you can make a decision later. If you're struggling, you have an extra week to figure it out. If you're a good team, you have an extra week to try to pry away a player, a piece from a bad team. There's just a lot more that gets done. You have more movement, and we've already seen it. This week was quiet, but the last couple weeks were really busy. I think you'll see a significant amount of movement in this deadline. One of the you said position groups. I think corner, pass rushers, maybe some interior defensive line. Those would be the three position groups I would say.
Does Trey Hendrickson get moved?
What'd you say?
Does Trey Hendrickson get moved?
So Cincinnati, if Cincinnati continues to lose and struggle, I think he becomes a lot more available. If they string together a couple wins, then they're going to keep him. And they're not just going to make a move to do it, but they also know that the likelihood of bringing him back in 26 is extremely slim. So if you're Cincinnati and you're sitting at 3-4 games below 500 at the deadline, and you can get a significant return for Trey Hendrickson, you're going to take a long look at it. And he's definitely one of the premier names that could be available. And that surprised me, but given the situation without Joe Burrow, yeah, he could be available.
The Cowboys, maybe? Dallas has got to do something to fortify that defense. I mean, do they have the assets? Jerry thinks they're still in it. I mean,
yeah, and the irony of all ironies, two things. One is they never really seem to make. They don't make a lot of trades. They go out and get Pickens, who's been awesome for them.
Yeah.
And without him, I don't know where they are because of Lamb. But trading away Parsons, that's the position they need. They need a pass rush. And I think, Matt Eberflus's defense, despite having a lot of name value, hasn't performed the way that I think they would have expected. They've had one great game against the Jets. Other than that, that defense has been pretty much bottom 5, bottom 8 across the board. So I would expect them to explore pass rusher. That's the position they need.
Tell me about what it's like working with Draymond Green and how the hell this happened. Why is Draymond Green talking about football with Jordan Schultz?
I don't even know why he
Come on. I mean, how does this happen?
Okay, I'll tell you what happened.
Give me the story.
What happened. As you know, Sam and Jason, this business is all about connecting dots and relationships.
Yeah, sure.
That's the nature. And I think in most businesses, Draymond and I had a mutual friend. We had a mutual friend but we didn't know each other. And we had exchanged pleasantries maybe, but we weren't friendly. And I told this friend who now produces the show, I said, hey, are there any athletes that you think have a good voice who would be willing and potentially interested in doing a show on football? And we went through a few guys, went through a few women. We were like, no, that's not the right fit. And then I said, hey, what about Draymond Green? Any chance you know him? And he goes, I was just with him at a film festival. And, he loves football. I said, I know. He played some football. I think he knows football. I said, would he be interested? He goes, I don't know, but let me get him on a call. I said, okay, let me know. And he goes, no, I'm going to call him right now. I swear to God. He calls him up, and he puts him on a 3-way speaker. And he says, hey, Dre. And he goes, I got someone I want to introduce you to. And I said, hey, Draymond, is this Draymond? He goes, yeah, what, this is DG. What's up? And we talked for 5 minutes, and I swear that's how it came together. I said, big fan of what you do in the NBA. Obviously, you're great on NBA on TNT.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in doing a show? And he said, yeah, I would. I love football. And he said, my only requirement is that we talk about the Steelers as much as possible because he's a big Steelers fan. I said, we can talk Steelers anytime you want, but are you seriously interested in doing a weekly show? That's a real commitment.
Right.
Especially with your schedule. It's easier when you're retired, but when you're playing and they're traveling all the time. And he said, I promise you I'll make it work. So he makes it work. For example, yesterday, We had to move a time because of practice. No problem. They're traveling. He'll do it after the game. He'll do it the morning of a game. It's unbelievable that he finds the time, but he does.
And he's committed because even with his own podcast, like wherever he is, he always is doing it.
Yes, because he has his own show with Baron Davis, which is great. And that was my thing. I was like, are you really going to find the time?
Yeah, do you have the bandwidth?
To do a second show.
Yeah, do you have the bandwidth? And that's sort of the world we live in.
And he's great, and he's crazy. You see him say things like, he says things like, Josh Allen's not the guy. I mean, just that alone from him moves the needle. And the other thing about Dre that is so rare is he doesn't mind not being liked. You know, a lot of people really want to be liked. He could care less.
It's so funny.
He just wants to be relevant. But in terms of being liked or not, no, it doesn't matter to him.
I don't have a ton of time to flush this out, but I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. I said the day my career turned and it all came together for me was the day I stopped caring about being liked.
When was that?
Oh, it was a long time ago.
That's tough in our business.
Yep. The moment I stopped caring about being liked and more about being respected for being willing to say the tough thing or ask the tough question, it all became much easier for me. Listen, all the best with the Schultz Report. Why is Draymond Green talking about football with Jordan Schultz? Let's do it again soon, all right?
I would love to. Guys, always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jordan. Great to see you, man.
Welcome back to the show. Thanks to Jordan Schultz for hanging out with us. Been a fun show today. David Aardsma and Jordan Schultz both hanging out with us. All right, Sam Yarnell, it is a Thursday edition of the show. I'm having a tough time keeping my days straight. Thursday edition of the show, and with odds and ends coming up in 10 minutes to wrap things up, it can only mean one thing. It's time for the SportsWrap Panic Meter Week 7 edition. Sam Yarnell in the NFL. Week 7 in the NFL, and on the Panic Meter this week, we've got two teams. We discussed one of them with Jordan Schultz. So let's start with the Arizona Cardinals, Sam Yarnell. Where do we put the Arizona Cardinals on the Panic Meter on a scale of 1 to 5?
I mean, it's got to be recency bias because of the conversation we had with Jordan Schultz, but I'm going full-fledged 5 here. This is a team that, when you think about their coaching situation, obviously that's not great. I talked earlier this week on the show about why their managerial situation's not great and their front office is a little bit of a mess, and, you know, I use that buzzword that I love to use, organizational malpractice with this franchise. But then when you look even further beyond that, their salary cap table doesn't look great. Sure, they've got Marvin Harrison Jr. on a rookie deal, but they've got a lot of money locked up in Kyler Murray, and I mean a lot. This is a team that does not have a ton going for them over the next 5 years as an organization as a whole right now. So, yeah, full-fledged 5 on the Panic Meter for the Cardinals for me, Jason.
And the thing is, if it is Panic Meter and if it is Panic Time, and this whole Jonathan Gannon thing happening the way it has, and all these close losses, and again, do you simply chalk it up to it's one of those seasons where you lose a bunch of fluky, crazy games late, you know, the Jonathan Gannon, DeMercado stuff. Do you just chalk it up as a lost year? You know, there are years where you could be the Chiefs like last year and win every close game and everything goes right. And then there's years like Atlanta had one of these years a year or two ago where, you know, it felt like they lost every close game. And now you're going through this if you're Arizona and you're asking yourself, is it just one of those years? And I think that has to be one of the toughest questions. If you are ownership, if you are a general manager, I think one of the toughest things to discern is we're just snake bitten and it's bad luck and we're just hitting into bad luck, or is it something more systemic where we need to make a change? And for that reason, I'm landing the plane. For that reason, I put the Panic Meter at a 3. Because and 3 for me is I don't know. I don't know, and I don't think they know if this is, and especially only after week 6. If you go through the rest of the season and you're losing these close games, and maybe you start asking yourself, all right, is there something systemic? Is there something where whether it's in the preparation, whether it's in the message, whether it's in the way the players respect this coach, whatever it may be, you've got the rest of the season to figure that out. I don't know if you put it at a 5 yet, because I don't know if you just think, hey, this is just a tough stretch where we have to come through the other end of it, and maybe that starts this week for them. Maybe it doesn't. That's what I think they have to figure out. For that reason, I'll put it at a 3.
Yeah, I get it. So, like, the crux of it is, right, it may be too early for it to be at a 5, and that is understandable, and maybe I'm doing it for dramatic effect. I just think, you know, I'm trying to look beyond this year, because obviously every season comes to an end eventually, whether it's in peril or in triumph. But at the end of the day, this is a franchise that has now hitched their wagon to something that they clearly don't want, and it's hard to get out of that in the 2025.
Team number 2 we're throwing into the panic meter. The Minnesota Vikings, and it's rare to put a team in the panic meter that is coming off of a victory. But I do it for this reason when I say it about the Minnesota Vikings, Sam. I ask myself, given the landscape of this division, and they're coming off the bye as well, but given the landscape of this division, is there panic? Because you have Green Bay, who's still at 3-1, who's still, you know, trying to sort of figure it out, and we'll see what they come back with off the bye. You've got Detroit at 4-2 coming off a loss, but I think we all think they're going to be fine in the long term. You have a Bears team that's won 3 in a row, and some people like me might think that they're starting to turn the corner with that franchise. And then you have the Vikings, who still don't know what the hell they have in J.J. McCarthy. Who knows if he's starting this week? He's being coy about it. I think he's going to start. That looked like a bad poker face to me, and it looks like he's going to start over Carson Wentz this week, obviously, coming back from the injury. But to me, I'm curious what you think about Minnesota on the panic meter, given what I just laid out.
Yeah, so I'd put them at like a 3 or a 4, somewhere in that range. I guess probably 3, gun to my head. Here's the thing about the Minnesota Vikings, right? And it's important to talk about them with relation to the division that you're talking about them. Because every other team in that division is on a different trajectory than the Minnesota Vikings. Every other team is on, you know, the up and up. Every other team is trending upwards, at least in some way, shape, or form. Whereas the Minnesota Vikings are kind of, not that they're at the top, because they're not, but they're near the top, and they're just kind of needling back and forth. It's like they're ready to just fall off a step, and they are the inevitable next bad team in this division. So, you know, how long can they put that off? That is what the question becomes. I'll put it at a 3 just because I don't think that may become a reality this season, but it's definitely in the air in Minnesota.
While there are some unknowns, and again, it's tough to give a full reading on the meter. There are some unknowns because you still don't know what you have in J.J. McCarthy. They think they do, but we don't because we haven't seen it. I'll put it at a 4, though, because of the rest of the division. If you believe Green Bay is the Green Bay that we saw for the first 3 games and not the 4th game, if you believe Chicago is on the come, if you believe Detroit is as good as a lot of us believe Detroit is, Minnesota's in a world of trouble. Even if they're kind of good, they might still be the worst team in the division. Odds and Ends wraps it up next. Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Thursday. Programming note. Special edition of Sports Wrap tomorrow. I will be traveling. Headed to Palm Springs for my annual pilgrimage to a bowling tournament I bowl there every year. It's the one day I have to take off during football season because I am committed to my bowling tournaments. So I'll be headed out there, but we've got a great show lined up for you tomorrow. Robert Littall will be on the show. Some of our best conversations from this week, all sorts of great relevant content on the Friday edition of the show. And still, Page versus the Prince. You won't want to miss that. Our 4-pack of picks. Sam went 3-1 last week. I went 2-2. Sam is 16-8 on the year, by the way. Kudos to you, Sam. I know, 16-8. And I am 12 and let me see, where's my numbers here? It's good to be prepared. 14-10. I'm 14-10. Sam is 16-8. He's got a 2-game lead on me. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. It's available on all your favorite podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. We're on all of them. You can listen to this show. It sounds just as good as it looks. Trust me. all your favorite podcasting platforms. Go and check that out. In addition, we've got the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Now, look, I know everybody's telling you subscribe to this, subscribe to that. 1, it's free. 2, we have this show, the TV show. They're every day, commercial-free, Monday through Friday, and it's usually available there before you'll see it on TV. Go and watch us on YouTube. We also have a special digital short called Sports Wrap Shorts. Every day, the top games getting covered. Right after the games end, you can go and check out Sports Wrap Shorts. If you're subscribed, it's a lot easier to get them. I actually watched Sports Wrap Shorts, Sam, yesterday. I actually watched it in my car because the new Chevy Equinox EV, the new software platform.
No free ads.
It allows you to get YouTube now. So, and Pluto TV and Peacock and all these things. So I was actually watching the show while parked, because you can't watch video while you're driving. And it looks just as good even when you're sitting in your car. So you can watch us anywhere. There's no excuse not to watch. And without any further delay on this Thursday edition of the show, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. All right, odds and ends. Let's race through this. Bryson DeChambeau and Stephen Curry. The Break 50 challenge that we have, seen, and he's had all sorts of different celebrities and athletes on it. Everybody from Donald Trump to you name it have been on with Bryson DeChambeau in this Break 50 challenge. Well, they finally broke 50, Sam Yarnell, a 49 with Stephen Curry and Bryson DeChambeau. The two of them accomplishing what I didn't think was possible. I mean, it's crazy to think of. Even if you're, playing from forward tees, even if you're, Bryson DeChambeau, shooting a 49 combined, that is amazing, Sam Yarnell.
Yes, yeah, 100%. No doubt. Man.
Sam shoots 49.
Sam
shoots 49 on like the first 7 holes.
That's not true. But I will say,
why are you pulling back from the jokes? Is that if there's a good joke to make?
If I wanted my wife to hate me, I'd just go try to break 50 for 2 months with a professional golfer too.
Fair enough. And there they are holding the scorecard. The two of them, the 49. Wow, they actually had a couple of 4s on the scorecard, and they still shot 49. It's remarkable. Congratulations, Stephen Curry, who's actually played in some Korn Ferry tour events.
Oh yeah, he has.
He's tried. He's given it the old college
try.
He's out there.
He golfs a lot.
Oh yeah, he does. Aaron Hicks is a really good golfer too, by the way, for those that are baseball fans. Aaron Hicks is a fantastic golfer. And Carlos Alcaraz should not be allowed to be so good at everything he does. He's taken up golf. I was watching clips with him playing with John Rahm, and Alcaraz hits it a mile. So wouldn't it be great to be that athletically gifted?
Well, all of those are hip drive sports.
That's true. It's a good point. Before we go, Steelers-Bengals Thursday Night Football, Sam Yarnell from Cincinnati. Go get that Skyline chili. The Bengals plus 5.5 at home against the Steelers. The total is 44.5. They're calling it the Icy Hot Bowl with Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers. What do you like?
Yeah, I like the Unk Bowl better. I think that rolls off the tongue a little more.
All right.
Lean the Bengals, like the under, playing Darnell Washington. That's whose props I like in this game. Don't ask me why. I did a bunch of research on it. Think Darnell Washington's due for a big game for Pittsburgh. Yeah, that's really it, Jason. This game is going to be horrible. It's going to be awful. I hope the Bengals win outright so that we can stop this whole narrative about the Pittsburgh Steelers being playoff contenders or whatever, actual do something in the playoff contenders, because they're not. Maybe they're not contenders for anything more than a first-round exit.
Who is a playoff contender to you? Because nobody's a contender to you. You've got like 2 teams that are playing. You've got like AFC 2 teams.
Right now, there are like legitimately 3 contenders.
But you're down on everybody that has a good record, other than like a couple of teams. By the way, the reason
that's
I'm not
true. Just because I don't like the Colts and I don't like the Steelers does not mean I'm down on all the teams with good records.
And by the way, I'm with you. I like the under and I love the Bengals. So I mean, I have nothing to disagree with you on.
Yeah,
I mean, that's it. I'm done.
Which means the Steelers are going to win by 2 touchdowns, and the final score is going to be 35-20.
It's going to do it for us. This Thursday edition of the show is done. Special edition of Sports Wrap tomorrow. Don't forget Sports Wrap weekends. Get on the YouTube channel, Sports Wrap with Jason Page for Sports Wrap shorts. Sam, have a good one. Thank you, David Aardsma. Thank you to Jordan Schultz. We'll see y'all back here tomorrow.